All right, and we are recording. So hi everyone, I am the Director of Communications at CUSJ. My name is Elin, and I'll just be having everyone introduce themselves, and we are all part of Columbia Undergraduate Science Journal. So yeah, if Arya, you could start introducing yourself and what you do.
Yeah, first off, a big thanks to Elin for getting this podcast rolling. Here at CUSJ, we're all about improving accessibility and making science more equal, so I'm really happy to be part of that mission. My name's Arya Rao. I'm the president of CUSJ for the 2020-2021 school year. And yeah, I'd like to introduce Izzy and Deena, our editor-in-chiefs. Go for it.
Any of you guys start?
Okay, hi, I'm Izzy. I'll be the editor-in-chief for the next school year. I'm really excited about it. I love CUSJ, so it's a really fun opportunity.
I'm Deena. I am the CJSJ editor-in-chief for this year. I'm also in Columbia College class of 2022, and I'm super excited to get this year started.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, we did just get all this information about how our clubs or how our years are going to progress with coronavirus. So, as everyone might know now, we are going to be online, and so our club will be operating mostly online, and that's okay because the transition has happened already. So I think we're all kind of used to that. Do you guys have anything to say on that?
I think that the transition to online is something that everybody's going through. Everyone's already gone through. And I think that it's not something that we ever thought would be this permanent. But I think that as scientists, we have to be well poised to handle this kind of thing and be leaders in this sort of technological shift. So here at CUSJ, I think we're going to be a little more focused this year on trying to make our science more accessible, more widespread, and also to leverage the online community for scientific purposes. We're going to be changing all of our events to an online format. We're going to be focusing more about getting our journals across the online platforms, which Izzy and Deena can talk a little bit more about, because I suspect that we're not going to be able to get our print journals as we usually do. So yeah, lots of things changing. We got this notification not 20 minutes ago. So this is all just preliminary thoughts, but I think it might be useful for those interested in going into the sciences, and specifically those interested in joining an undergraduate science journal, to hear about our immediate thoughts.
Yeah, Deena, Izzy, do you have anything to say about, how we're going to progress from here on out?
I feel like none of us really expected this to kind of last as long as it has, and back in March and April, when we were talking about the possibility of not having school in the fall, it was kind of like not really serious. Like, we didn't think it was really going to happen. But we've definitely had to adapt, and I'm really proud of what we've done as a club and how we've been able to move fully online and keep business as usual and kind of keep progressing and advancing as a club. I'm definitely excited to see us continue in the same fashion. And as Arya said, we're definitely going to be focusing on getting the journals online, on working on our website, making sure everything is very accessible online for everybody. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how it goes.
And I think this whole thing has also been really great for involving more people into our CUSJ community. Like, I think our summer publishing program has been a great example of that. Like, the other day in our first webinar, we had 25, 30 people from all around the country and even the world participating. So I feel like it's not just a change, but it's actually been a big improvement for our events.
Yeah, I think we adapted really well. Yeah, Arya, sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I was just going to say that I think that a lot of the things that are coming out of this pandemic are going to stay with us afterward. For example, the online events, the breakout rooms in Zoom, this has been fantastic for us and for everyone, I think. So it's good to look on the positive.
Yeah, and also spearheading this podcast. I mean, now that we have Zoom, it's really easy for us to kind of get our news out there or anything like that, and also have our faces out there to kind of make it a little bit more personable. But before we move on, do you guys want to, at least Deena and Izzy, do you guys want to talk a little bit more about what CJSJ does and then what CUSJ does, or what that difference is? Because I know that can be kind of confusing.
Elin, why don't I give a little description about what our club does as a whole, and then it might be useful to break down what the two journals are that we run.
Yeah.
So CUSJ is the Columbia Undergraduate Science Journal, and while that name might imply that all we do is academic publication, that's not the case. We actually run 7 committees consisting of Columbia undergraduates doing a large variety of things. So we have a finance community that runs finance, events who manage our panels, our webinars, our in-person events when we get back to them, communications, doing things like this lovely podcast, internal affairs, which does our social events, outreach, which is geared toward making science more accessible and engaging with the local New York community and beyond. The last 2 committees, which are the real focus of our club, CUSJ, which publishes our journal for undergraduate researchers, and CJSJ, our journal that publishes high school students' research. And I think this is a good point to turn to Izzy. She can talk a little bit more about our undergraduate journal, and then Deena can talk about CJSJ a little more.
So CUSJ is not the only focus of CUSJ, but it's the first thing that people think of when they think of CUSJ. It's our journal that's specifically for undergraduate students. This is really important to me as like a mission for CUSJ because it's about giving undergraduate researchers a platform to show off their work where they're not really being overshadowed by their grad students and their PIs. It's really important, I think, to be able to specifically showcase undergrads' talents. And I think Deena can explain about CJSJ.
Yeah, so CJSJ is a little bit different than CUSJ. We actually focus on high school research, on original high school research. And we have a few goals with CJSJ. One of them is obviously for the committee to get these submissions from high school students and edit them and curate the journal and kind of make sure that everything is up to our standards and well edited and well written and everything. Another thing is that we're focusing on this year is having a lot of events, whether they're online or in person, to get high school students more involved in science and more involved in research, starting from a young age. I myself am very invested in this, obviously, because I've done research as a high school student. I was very involved in that, and I thought it was a really important part of me getting involved in STEM for my career and in college and beyond. So I think it's super important to kind of have this outreach and get students excited about this, as well as getting them excited about the publication process and leading them through that and helping them kind of get exposed to all of that.
Yeah, super cool. That's a really good segue into kind of asking, like, why did you guys join CUSJ? You know, whenever you guys did, I mean, we were all like, what, freshmen when we joined CUSJ, which is wild now that we're incoming juniors. So yeah, like a little bit about, you know, what you were expecting or why you applied in the first place. Arya, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. I'll give it a go. So coming in as a freshman to Columbia, I knew that I wanted to major in biochemistry. I'd been doing research in population genetics for a few years. I currently work in the Andal Photo Lab at Columbia. So I knew that research and science was going to be a focus of my time at Columbia, and I wanted to start engaging with that community as soon as I could. And CUSJ seemed to be the most accessible and most academic club for scientists on campus. We really strive to enrich the student scientist community. And as a freshman, that's something I really wanted to be a part of. Going into my junior year, now we're upperclassmen, which, like Elin said, is a little freaky. I think it's really great to be able to give back to that community, which is something that's helped me and helped all of us.
Izzy, Deena, feel free to jump in.
So I joined CUSJ because although like I was really interested in science and I wanted to get into research, I was not familiar with the publication process at all. And I knew that it would be something that I would have to learn about if I wanted to get more into science. So it's been really great for that goal. I mean, I'm editor-in-chief now and I had no idea what I was doing before. So that's been really good for me. And something that kind of surprised me about CUSJ is, well, I think this surprises a lot of people that we have so many different committees and different goals and events going on, that it's not just about the journal, but about like improving the scientific community at Columbia.
Yeah, cool.
So as I said before, like I was involved in research in high school, so I going in knew that I wanted to be involved in research as an undergrad. And when I saw CUSJ at the fair for clubs, I was really excited because I was like, wow, this is a research focused club for undergrads. Where, as Izzy said, like I also wasn't really familiar with the publication process. So I thought that would be a really great way to like expose myself to undergraduate research as well as the publication process. And I think something that has really like been something really positive for me personally through CUSJ is the community. I think we really have through the committees, we form a very strong bond, and even outside of the committees as a club, we're just a very strong community. We're all very friendly. We hang out on the weekends, and we have a lot of events and different ways for us to kind of get closer. And I found that this like very driven and scientifically focused, but also like very down to earth community has been a really positive thing for me in settling into Columbia. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I mean, one thing that I was super happy about after joining CUSJ was seeing that exactly what Izzy said, like we aren't just a publication based club. We do, that is a huge part of what we do, but we have so many other committees that we can join that, you know, deals with so many other parts of the publication process, and also just a lot of like community building for people in science, because that's something that I feel like not a lot of people get, because science usually seems, especially research, usually seems like something very personal and very individual, and you're kind of just working to do your research and get yourself published. But I think the CUSJ community really creates a nice group of people that all want to help each other throughout this process. And I really enjoyed that and learning about that throughout my time there. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to like turn to kind of a broader subject, but something that interests you about science currently, or what your interests are. I know, Arya, you talked a little bit about what you're interested in and what kind of research you're doing, but maybe if any research you guys are doing. But yeah, like you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. I can give that a whirl. So I mentioned a little bit ago that I work in population genetics, and that's not a topic that's familiar with most people. So I'll describe the subject a little bit. Basically, if you can study what's going on within a population at the genetic level, you can make predictions about what happens in a given gene, based on molecular things, based on phenotypic things. So we can use this field as a way to leverage our understanding of a lot of other fields. So what I'm interested in doing going into the future is translational population genetics, which means applying the findings that we get from studying the genetics of a given population to human medicine. And I understand this is a very general thing, but if you're actually interested in population genetics, I'd recommend looking up some publications. Marty Kreitman, he's a very well-known population geneticist. I work in the Andolfato lab at Columbia. That's another one to look for. So if you're interested in population genetics, definitely go give their publications a read. And yeah, I'll turn it over to the other two to talk about what they're interested in.
So I joined the Columbia Stem Cell Initiative pretty much as soon as we got to campus, like in that very first month. And I've been working there ever since. And it was kind of a happy coincidence because I just sort of joined the first lab that would take me. And it turned out to be something that I'm really interested in. I'm in the Passageway lab, and like I said, they deal with stem cells. And basically with stem cells, like we probably already know, they sort of have a downstream hierarchy of different cells that they can develop into, and these stem cells can pretty much develop into any kind of cell in our body. But at the Passageway lab, what they found is that it's not just sort of like a random distribution. Different cytokines, different signals can cause stem cells to lean one way or the other and even transform in the middle of their downstream path. So I'm interested in regenerative engineering, which is basically manipulating these signals in order to make stem cells develop into full organoids. And this is important because organoids are a much better model than like a mouse or anything else for modeling human responses. So that's where I'm at right now. Yeah. Hoping to go into probably an immunoengineering PhD program. That's my goal.
So I'm doing something a little bit different. It's not engineering. I'm working at the Simons Foundation, which is downtown New York. It's near NYU, kind of. I'm working in their Center for Computational Biology, and I'm working on a computational neuroscience project. And our system that we use is a microscopic wasp, which is actually really interesting because it's so small that we're able to find all the connections between the neurons in its visual system, which we can't do with a fly or with a human. And my lab is basically working on the first full connectome of the visual system of any organisms. So I've been doing some data analysis for them because I'm also studying stats as a minor. And I've been doing some like data science stuff for them, working on looking at the stratification of neurons in the visual system of this wasp. And I've been there for about a year now. I started there as an intern last summer, so I really enjoyed it so far, and that's definitely something that I want to go into in the future, something with computational neuroscience or computational biology. I really like the intersection of those things, so that's where I'm at. Yeah, hopefully to continue too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like, you know, just talking about this is really nice because you get to see like how different we all are, but we all do science. And, you know, you guys are all talking. I mean, I work with like I work with a fly as a model organism, so I'm much more on like the biology side of things and like very hands-on with my flies.
Hey,
but I
fly
feel
crew,
like
man.
what?
Fly crew.
Yep. And I'm very much on like the neurobiology side, but I work with fruit flies, and I'm in a lab that works on a lot of like synaptic connections and a lot of like sensory synaptic connections in neurons. And so I work particularly on dendritic arborization neurons, which are sensory neurons that are super complex and really branchy, but they also degrade with age as the flies age. And so I'm working on a project that pretty much is trying to figure out what happens to our neurons as we age, and maybe potentially why we age as organisms. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. I've worked in a couple of other labs that have worked on like sleep research, which is also super interesting to me, and sleep is very important and that also contributes to aging. So there's a lot of things that contribute to, you know, there's a lot of pathways that happen that contribute to how we age and progress as humans and as organisms. And so yeah, that's something that's really interesting to me. It's very much like biology and neurobiology, but nothing on like the computational side, as you guys are, you know, as you guys have said. But yeah, I think it's really cool that we get to kind of come together and really talk about our research like that. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of closing in on our first intro podcast, but has been super cool to talk to you guys. Do you guys have anything else to say about, you know, what you guys do on campus, or anything else about, you know, CUSJ's mission as a club?
I think I know we're going online for this next school year, and for our Columbia listeners, especially the incoming class, that's a little scary. For our Columbia listeners, I still encourage you to get involved with CUSJ. And for our non-Columbia listeners, get involved with CUSJ. We're really, really looking forward to expanding our community, especially in this troubling time. And we'd love to have you. So shoot us an email, listen to the podcast. We're here for you.
Yeah. Izzy, Deena, anything to add? I think that encompasses a lot of what we stand for.
Yeah, I think Arya really said it all.
Nice. That's our president.
Yeah, well said, Arya.
Well
There's nothing very well said.
Yeah. I think in these like really uncertain times, it's really nice to have like a community of people to be able to talk to, or at least listen to. So definitely tune in to these next podcasts. We'll have more segments of our CJSJ, our published CJSJ writers, and also our published CUSJ writers. So we'll have those segments of them kind of explaining what their research has done, So that'll be really interesting, and we'll also try to get the other committee members on a podcast so that we all can introduce ourselves as the E-Board of CUSJ.
Yeah, it's been
So
great.
much, Elin, for leading this podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be a really nice segment for us to, to improve upon and to get on as we, especially as these circumstances continue with how online we are going to be. So
yeah, looking forward. Thank you, Elin.
yeah,
Thank you, Elin.
for being here.